Hello, everybody. My name is Darius Grbinskas. My pronouns are he, him, and I am the head of speakers and performers at TEDxRoyalCentralSchool. Welcome to In Conversation with live series, which we are streaming on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Don't worry if you need to go run off at any point. We're going to be recording this video and uploading it onto our social media channels. And we will be providing a transcript later on as well. So today's guest is Dr. Selina Busby, who did a talk with us in 2018 called Can Theatre Change the World? Selina is a principal lecturer at the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama and is she's a course leader of MA Applied Theatre course, which is very exciting because I will be graduating from an undergrad in applied theater this year. So I think this will be a very interesting conversation. And without further ado, let's bring Selina to the live stream.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. How are you, Selina?
I'm very well, thank you. Almost as nervous as I was for the original TEDx talk, but other than that, I'm good, thank you.
Amazing. So Selina, for people who don't know you, could you maybe just introduce yourself, please, with your name, your personal pronouns, and what work do you do? Just introduce your work. Yeah.
Okay, that'll take ages. My name is Selina Busby. My pronouns are she and her. I am, as Darius just said, the course leader for the MA in Applied Theatre at Central, and so my work very much involves making theatre with community groups in different places and different people, usually with people who aren't professional theatre makers. So I do, as my TED talk talked about, quite a lot of work with people within the criminal justice system who are in prisons, or who are young people who might be living in homeless shelters, or oh goodness, youth theatres, a whole range of different places. So very much making theatre with everyday people.
Have you been working on anything exciting recently? Any applied theatre projects or?
That's quite hard in lockdown. We seem to have been in lockdown for a really long time. But yes, I guess the main thing I've been doing just recently is I'm really embarrassed to say is I've been writing a book, which if you'd have asked me that 6 years ago, I would have said, no, I will never write a book. But I'm just in the last stages of proofreading that. So that's taken quite a lot of time. And the book really focuses on about 25 years worth of working with different community groups. So while I've been doing that and while we've been in lockdown, some of my projects have continued to happen. So I've been working on projects with a partner organisation and an amazing Indian facilitator in Mumbai in India for about 15 years now. And some of our projects have been happening during lockdown with people on the ground delivering the work. And one of those projects with a group of women and young people who live in informal housing settlements is actually happening this week and next week. So that's really exciting. They're people that live quite isolated lives and who their own lockdown has affected in quite deep and serious ways and has exacerbated their isolation. So the chance to bring them together to do theatre at the moment feels really important.
Mm-hmm. And it's very interesting because you are working with such a different range of communities and making theatre in like very untraditional contexts. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but then a part of the work that you do, kind of the reason behind it is to create some kind of positive social change. Yes or no, and how did you end up doing this work? Feel free to disagree with me. I'm just, yeah.
Yeah, social change. Can theatre change the world? Yeah, probably not, would be my... I think if you...
Let's not spoil it.
No, I don't want to spoil it. Theatre can change the world, but in really limited and specific ways, I think. I think if you're a social activist looking to make serious changes to the world, there are more effective ways, perhaps, of doing that than through theatre. But I don't have access to those. So theatre is like the tool that I have to make change. And so that's why I use it. I think theatre can make huge changes to individuals' lives and to community lives on a quality basis. I think people being able to express themselves artistically and use their imaginations and think about themselves in different ways so they do in their everyday lives is really important. So I think that's how theatre really changes people's lives and can change the world, by making changes to what people think are possible and to their self-esteem and their aspirations. I think a lot of the people that I work with have been conditioned by the world around them to think that change isn't possible for them on a personal level or for their community not to be able to change because of the circumstances that they have no control over. And I think theatre is a very useful way and a very creative, fun, imaginative and joyful way for people to kind of take a sidestep out of that day-to-day life and think about how things could be different and use their imagination through theatre or through the characters in theatre, if it's not theatre they're devising, to think about the world in a different way and to think about their world differently. And I think that starts to open up possibilities for individuals and communities to see that change is possible, because it has to be possible. We created things the way they are in our world, and so if we created them that way, we can uncreate them and we can reimagine them. And I think that's one really powerful thing that theatre can do for people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that answers your question.
I think it does. I don't think there is a right answer to this question, but it's very interesting because I also think theatre then in a way can be if not necessarily a tool for social change, or it could be perhaps a tool for social change, but it could also be, it could witness maybe some certain moments of, let's say, personal change or transformation to some people. And I think just the very fact that through theater, you witness that, and you kind of, it kind of validates those moments to people who do theater, who experience those transformational moments, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I think some of the work I've done, that witnessing, to use the word that you just used, it is a really powerful thing. I think in the TED talk I talk about people that I've worked with who are living in prisons, who haven't felt that they've succeeded at very much. Often, sometimes they have succeeded at amazing things, but often people in prison feel that they haven't got very much to be proud of and that they haven't got moments of success. And I think that if someone can be in a performance that feels successful in front of an audience, not only do they get the fulfillment of feeling they've achieved something for themselves, but having that witnessed by an audience is an amazingly powerful thing for them. So I think there really is something important about the witnessing. But it's also, I think, really closely connected to people being able to tell their stories, whether they're stories based in real life or they're stories that are created tangentially to that. I think there are a lot of voices in the world today and in our individual societies and communities. There are a lot of voices that we don't hear. We hear stories by and for very specific sets of people, I would guess, and some people have lots of access to have their stories be told and be heard, and other people have very few access to either tell or be heard. And I think that's quite a powerful thing too. I think that's one of theatre's really important roles to play in community settings, is it invites people to tell the stories they want to tell, and for audiences to hear voices and stories that they don't necessarily hear as often as they hear other people's. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to hear voices and to hear points of view and take perspectives that we don't necessarily get an opportunity to every day.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate you say that, and I think it also the power debate and discussion kind of plays in very well here, because I'm not sure how to put this in words, but then we're talking about whether that change is imposed by you, and whether, you say, okay, this community needs change, or this type of change needs to happen, or do we work together with that community to find out what the change is that they need, whether there is change that, needs to happen for that specific community. Yeah. And it's also very interesting. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's never my role as a facilitator to decide that a community needs to change, or how they need to change, or an individual needs to change. I think it's really important that people make those decisions and communities make those decisions for themselves. I think specifically the work that I do is it opens up spaces for people to play and use their imagination and see if they want to make change happen, and then they take it in the direction that they want to. So I would never, in any of the projects that I've worked on, say that my motivation is to change people. It's I think I say in the TED talk, I see my work as an invitation for people to see that change is possible. Whether they choose to take that change or not, and how they change is entirely up to them. I never want to be in a position where I'm telling people how they should live or what changes they should make. I think it's not my place. It's really not my place to do that. But it is. I do see it as my place when I can, to allow people, to invite people really to think about whether they want change, and if they do, how to start to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. And I actually have a quote from your talk that very nicely links to what you just said. Yes, and if you don't mind, I would just read it out to people watching, because I think it's very interesting. So you say, and you talk about the pedagogy of utopia here. So you say, utopia holds within it a sense of realization, and in that realization, change becomes possible. That isn't to say that the intention of applied theater is to make change happen, but for me, the intention might be for the people I work with, the people I make theater with, to see that there is potential to create change, and that change is possible, which I think is really, really wonderful. So what does utopia mean to you, and why is it important in your work?
That's what my book's called. So my headspace is absolutely in that just at the moment. A utopia for me, I think there has to be hope. I think we all know there are many things and many injustices and things that we're spatial injustice, social injustice. I think we all know that the world is not a fair and equitable place. And for me, there has to be hope that we can change that, and really that's where utopia is founded for me. For me, the definition of utopia I use is one that plans for a different future. It doesn't map out what that future looks like, but a utopic space is a space that allows people to realistically appraise what's happening around them now, their situations now. So to take the reality of that, and within that grounded reality, start to imagine how things could be different. Specifically for me, how things could be more equitable, could be more inclusive, and could be more socially and spatially just. So that for me is utopia, looking at what is and imagining what could be, and how we can change from what we've got now to it being better for individuals and for communities, however they define that better. So it's not my place to define that on some levels, although clearly I would say that my practice sits very firmly in the area of working towards social justice. So clearly my goals are wrapped up in that, and a utopia for me would absolutely be a more just place for everybody to live.
Mm-hmm. And I find it very interesting because that's something that came up in, I don't know if you watched the previous lives with Ramatullah Bob and Emma Washington, because in every of those talks we talked about kind of not necessarily about utopia, but about like envisioning something for the future, because that's the first step towards change and the first step towards something happening.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Exactly the same. I'm just using slightly different words to describe that, I think, but that's exactly right. I guess there's a little stage in between for me, I guess, which is about questioning. So that's the other thing that theatre is useful for. You can step aside the actual reality and question it from a different angle. If you're in a character, or if you're using if you're using fiction as kind of a safety net. Safety net's not quite the right word, but there's a safety in fiction that allows you to say things and be things and practice things and look at things in a way that you might not be able to in your everyday life. And if you can accept the reality on one level, see it for what it is, but then question it and question why things are like that, that leads into that imagining imagining change. So I guess the questioning and critiquing of what is also a vital part of that process. But yeah, absolutely, that conversation is in the same territory. We're just using different words.
Mm-hmm. Selina, so now I would like to talk with you about your experience with TEDxRoyalCentralSchool.
Yeah.
And the first question that I wanted to ask you is, how did you come up with your talk idea?
Oh, how did I come up with the idea? I think I think at that point, specifically when the advert came out to say, did people want to do apply to do a TEDx talk? I was also thinking about, I was trying to think what my 25 years of work had looked like, the principles of it, like almost philosophy is not quite the right word to use, ethos of my work. And so the two kind of arrived quite neatly at the same time. I was grappling with what community theatre, applied theatre, participatory theatre meant to me, and why it was important to me at the same time as I saw the advert. So I kind of thought that the two connected quite well, and that if I could express why theatre can change the world as well as why it can't in a TED talk, then I would be able to do it more succinctly in my everyday life and maybe in a book. I'm not sure that it quite did that, but it certainly set me on the journey to doing that. So it was a really valuable thing. I also, this is perhaps a little bit of a controversial thing to say, but I also think that applied theatre is a term that's often misunderstood. And I think that people think there are intentions behind the work that aren't necessarily there. So I wanted a chance to explore that. I think people from the outside of the discipline often think it is that we want to make change for the world or individuals, and that we're telling people how to live. And I'm really passionate about that not being what it's about. So it was a useful way to sort of try and articulate that. So yeah, I guess those were my. Oh, no, they're attached to that also. I think I'm in a funny place. I am a course leader. I am a doctor, much to my surprise in many respects. But my heart is in my practice and always has been. The research is really important to me. Being in academia and being a teacher, particularly being a teacher, is really important to me. But I do that on the back of 25 years of real practice with real people that I don't want to stop, and I've never stopped. And I'm also aware that academia has this way of twisting things and changing things. And so I'm aware that there's a lot of people who have now become professional academics in an area where they haven't had rooted practical experience. So they can talk about it theoretically, and they can talk about why change or transformation are good or bad, and debate the words without actually having that rooted in experience, if that makes sense. So I really wanted the chance to kind of go, yes, I'm an academic, but actually I'm a practitioner first. And I think the TEDx talk allowed me to talk about my practice in a way that academia doesn't always let me. So it was quite important to me for that reason.
And did you know what you wanted to say with your TED Talks before you started working on it, or did it kind of evolve gradually as you?
I think I knew that I wanted to talk about how important theatre and the arts can be for people, whether that's just that tiny moment of feeling they've achieved something in one moment for one day, or whether it's about something long term. Theatre is another one of those things in general that people who aren't involved in it can often think is a superfluous, fluffy thing that only people do sitting in the dark who have a lot of money to buy theatre tickets. And I think it's really important that we smash those barriers too. And theatre is accessible to everybody in different ways. And I think the more that we can reach people through all of the art forms, then the more opportunities that gives people to play with creativity and imagination. And if they decide that that's for them, then that's brilliant and they should do it. And if they decide that it's not, then that's also okay. But I want to really break down the barriers and the stigmas and the elitism that's around theatre, as well as applying it, if that makes sense. So TED also felt that it was a good vehicle to do that. So yeah, I always wanted to talk about the importance of theatre or the importance of the art in a way that I was hoping would be accessible to people.
Great. And would you have any tips maybe for other TEDx Royal Central School speakers who are maybe thinking, oh, I'm going to apply now, or oh, I'm so scared I don't know what to do.
Do
or,
it. To paraphrase the book title,
do it.
I can't remember. Feel the fear and do it. I was really nervous and really uptight about it, but it was a really good thing. It was a really good thing to do. I think people should be brave and do it. But so if you're teetering on the edge of do I do it, do I not do it? Yeah, forget that. Just do it and see what happens. My tips once you've said yes are, mine was too long. I should have cut it down. It should have been at least 5 minutes shorter, but I really struggled with doing that. So my advice would be shorter and succincter. That's not even a real word, probably, but it would be better. So and don't overthink it. I think I would also say it needs strong theoretical. That's not necessarily the right word. It needs strong underpinning and a strong message, but short and direct is probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just don't worry about it. Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And
it's a really amazing thing to do. It was great. It was nerve-wracking, but it was great to actually do it, and then to be able to say, yeah, I've done a TEDx talk. Yeah, in the same way that theatre helps people, it definitely made me feel more confident about articulating what I do and how I do it. So it was really useful for me on that level, as well as hopefully it was interesting for people to listen to or watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also wanted to add, like, the talks don't need to be perfect when you submit them. Of course, you need to have an idea, what you want to say, but we don't need to be perfect. Again, we have speaker coaches that will be working with all the speakers.
Speaker coaches were great. The people who helped craft it, and on the day I felt so well supported. I know Jake isn't involved this year, but the person who really held that year for me was Jake, and I would not have been able to do it without him. So yeah, absolutely, fully supported. The rehearsal process was great. The speaker coaches were great. I felt really held and really supported. And actually, it's a really nice relationship, because the day itself is really great, because the range of speakers from different places and different places in their career journey or their thinking process was really, really lovely. So we had everything all day, from people who were current undergraduate students to people who were recently graduated, to a PhD student, to a Channel 4 television presenter, and somewhere in that me. So it was really that's the camaraderie of the day itself, and the preparation process is a really lovely process to be part of.
And I think that's the most beautiful thing, is you don't need to have published a book to be a TEDx speaker, or you don't need to have a PhD. You do, which is amazing, and you can share with us so many amazing ideas and insights. But again, everybody walks their own path, and absolutely. So regardless of kind of your educational background or any other social background, just do it. Just try and talk from kind of your own experience. And I think this is what's very important.
And it does the thing that I talk about with theatre. It's hearing voices, and voices that we might not usually hear. So yeah, absolutely. If you think you might have something to say, risk it.
Okay, so Selina, I would like to wrap up with that, because that's a very beautiful kind of thought. So thank you so much for spending your time with us. I really appreciate it. It was really, it was really interesting and exciting to have you. I know I'm gonna see you soon. I'm gonna chat to you, because I'm doing applied theatre. So we're gonna chat.
I look forward to that.
Cool. Okay. Thanks so much, Selina, and have a good night.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Amazing. What a brilliant conversation. So I just wanted to remind everyone that the deadline for speaker applications is the 11th of December, and the deadline for performers is the 10th of January. So again, the deadlines are a bit different. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's live stream. It was our final live stream. Who knows, maybe we will surprise you with something next week. Who knows? But thanks everybody for tuning in. Shout out to Karim, who's backstage right now, making everything possible, just making everything happen, and sorting out the tech. So thanks, Karim, you're amazing. And see you all later. Bye.